Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is Beitzah Daf Yud. We begin 4 lines from the top of the Amud. We had a discussion now, Mishnah, regarding overriding an Issa D'Rabbanan on account of Simchas Yom Tov. And the Gemara is going to present an apparent contradiction. We have Shitas Beis Shammai, we have Shitas Beis Hillel. The question is, who said what? Says the Gemara 4 lines from the top. Ella ikasha. Rather, if there perhaps is a contradiction, a kasha, between the Shitas, Hakasha is as follows. Yesterday we had an apparent contradiction between one Beis Shammai and the other, one Beis Hillel and the other. And the Gemara sought to resolve that difference by switching around the names, the Shitas. And the Gemara says, you don't really need to do that. 2 separate halachas, unrelated, there's no contradiction whatsoever. Ela ikasha hakasha. But if there is a kasha to present, it's as follows. We have a Mishnah which says, B'Shamei Oimrim, Einoit l'nesa eli. You can't take hold of this cutting board, this block of wood, on which they would crush grain, so it's muktzah. You can't even use it on Yom Tov l'katsev olav basar, to chop meat on it. It's muktzah. So although he would like to use it for Simchas Yom Tov, we don't override the din muktzah here. Tesis later on says, we're speaking that it's not just a simple klisha malachta le'isr, a kli which is intended for malacha purposes. It's more than that. It's something which is precious, something which is meant to stay in place. It's muktzah machmas chisar, and kiss on account of monetary loss, and that has a higher ranking level of muktzah, cannot even be used for permissible purposes, and even though it's at the expense of Simchas Yom Tov. So that's Beis Shammai. Ubeis Hillel matir, and they say no, go ahead and use it, which will enable him to proceed with Simchas Yom Tov, to prepare his meat and his animal. Amma, apparently, when it comes to a Rabbanon concern in the face of Simchas Yom Tov, which one overrides? Alma got Simchas Yom Tov, Beis Shammai l'chumra, the machmer, they don't allow you to move muktzah for that purpose. Ubeis Hillel l'kula, Beis Hillel say, you know what, on account of v'samachta v'chagecha, we'll suspend the concern that the Rabbanon have, the muktzah. So we see Beis Shammai a machmer when it comes to Simchas Yom Tov, and Beis Hillel mekel, they override the Nisa D'Rabbanan v'ramini. We have a steer from that Mishnah, which we already learned, by Kisi Adam, shoyich et chayvay Beis Shammai oimrim v'chulu. You go ahead and do shchita, dig up some earth, Kisi Hadam, even though there's a Nisa D'Rabbanan there, he's been makalkal, all kinds of svaris and concerns that we have. No problem. Simchas Yom Tov, to do a shchita, an animal on Yom Tov, that overrides. And Beis Hillel say, no, you cannot do shchita unless you know you have ready-made offer. So when it comes to Simchas Yom Tov, Beis Shammai are the ones who take the easy route. They say, lekula, and Beis Hillel machmer. That's a stira. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler hashita. Says Rabbi Yehuda, apparently you have to reverse the opinions. And just as in the case of Kisi Adam, Beis Shammai are mekel, Beis Hillel are machmer in the face of Simchas Yom Tov. Likewise over here, when it comes to the muktzah item, we have to switch the opinions. Beis Shammai are mekel, Beis Hillel machmer. Mimai says the Gemara, know to compare the two things. Perhaps you can easily differentiate. Beis Shammai hasam. Perhaps only by Kisi Adam do Beis Shammai say, go ahead, dig up the earth. Ela hecha de ikadeker notes, because we're speaking that he had a spade already angled into the ground, in which case that removes any concerns. It's muchan and doesn't look like he's digging anything, as we already discussed in the sugi there. Since it has that factor, that mitigating factor that minimizes any concerns, we allow it to do it. But if you don't have that factor, such as in the case of the muktzah, perhaps over here we can't allow it, even in face of Simchas Yom Tov. Inami, alternatively, you can say, Ad kan like amri Beis Hillel hacham. Perhaps it's only over here that Beis Hillel say, they can go ahead and move this ali, this block of wood, to cut your meat. Ela the ikater is kli olav, because it's a kli. It's not something useless. So although it's muktzah, use it for this purpose. Aval hasam loy, when it comes to the Kisi Adam, where you're actually digging, it's a more severe situation, it's closer to Nisa Deraisa. Perhaps over there, they won't allow. So it's two different topics, two different contexts, and who says to compare the two things? Elo ikasha kasha. Rather, if there's something to ask, it's as follows. We have another Mishnah. So you flayed an animal on Yom Tov, you have the hide, the skin. You don't want it to harden, and you want to just place it on the floor near the traffic, meaning have people step on it, to be duris on it, which would slightly benefit the art. It's a partial processing job. It's not really this the rice. It's not really me'abed, but it's something which resembles a me'abed processing, which is a malacha. Don't do it on Yom Tov. Say Beis Shammai. Don't put your oir of the animal which you shechted today in a way which enables the pedestrians to step on it. You can't even lift it. It's muktzah elam ken yesh alav kazais basar, unless it has a kazais of basar attached to it. So even though we're trying to help him do simchas Yom Tov, we don't allow it. This is the Rabban overrides. That's Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel matir. Beis Hillel allow you to move it and to actually place it in a place where it's going to be stepped on. Why? Because we want to encourage you to shecht your animal on Yom Tov. If we're not going to allow you to do this, perhaps we'll be discouraged from doing shchita at all. Alma, apparently you see, when there's a simchas Yom Tov factor at play, Beis Shammai lechumra, they don't allow the simchas Yom Tov factor to override the Issa Rabbanon. Beis Hillel lekula, they're mekel. We do away with the Rabbanon in order to allow the simchas Yom Tov. Ramini, we have a steer from that Mishnah Makisi Adam. We find the reverse. Hashaychet chayvayv bi Yom Tov. When it comes to simchas Yom Tov, Beis Shammai are mekel. Beis Hillel is machmer. That's a steer. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler. Once again, let's switch things around, so that the shitas are consistent with each other. And just as Beis Shammai allowed the kisi adam, they allow handling the oyer of the animal. Just as Beis Hillel don't allow kisi adam, they won't allow moving around and handling the skin of the animal as well. Mimai says, well, how do you know to compare the two things? Once again, we can draw a distinction between the two. Perhaps the two things are unrelated. Perhaps it's only by kisi adam. The Beis Shammai are mekel because you have that factor at play, that minimizing factor. No, you have the spade in the ground, which takes away the impression of malacha. No, it's like, but when you don't have that factor benefiting you, you have oyer of the animal, which is going to be processed here. There's Issa Rabbanon, and you don't override that, even on account of simchas Yom Tov. So here, there's no decker, no, it's loy, meaning there is no minimizing factor, and therefore we have a machmer. Inami, alternatively, you can say ad kan loika amri Beis Hillel hacha. Perhaps it's only over here by the skin that Beis Hillel allow it. Ela dechazi lemizga iluya, because this oyer, this skin, is suitable for use as a mat, for sitting, and therefore it doesn't really appear, it's not so obvious that you're trying to process it, you're trying to be me'abed the oyer by having it stepped on. Perhaps you're just using it, it doesn't give that impression of malacha, and therefore it's not as severe, not as serious. Aval hasamle, but when it comes to kisi adam, where it appears like he's doing a malacha, perhaps over there you can't. So once again, why are you comparing the two cases? Ela kasha kasha. Rather, if there's a kasha, it's as follows. We have another Mishnah. Beis Shammai oimrim ein mesalkenes atresim b'Yom Tov. Atresim were the doors used to cover up, close up these storage cubicles. So the merchant wants to open up his storage, provide some Yom Tov products for the oilam. Beis Shammai say you can't remove the tracing. Can't take it off. You can't put it back on, because it resembles binyan, building, crafting. It's also even on Yom Tov. Beis Hillel matir nafla hachser. Beis Hillel say not only could you remove it, there's no concept of building here. You can remove it and afla hachser. You can even restore it, put it back in its place when you're done selling. Alma apparently got Simchas Yom Tov. When there's a Simchas Yom Tov at play, Beishamar l'chumra, Beisil l'kul. Beishamar say we can't override, we can't suspend a concern that the Rabbanan have, something that appears like boina, can lead to boina to melacha, even in the face of Yisra of Simchas Yom Tov. U'Beisil l'kul, Beisil say because it's Simchas Yom Tov, we do away with these concerns. For a minute, we have a stira from that Mishnah of Kisi Adam. We find that the Shitas are reversed. Ha'shechet chayiv b'yom tov. Beishamai are the ones who are makel on account of Simchas Yom Tov, and Beisil is machmer. Says the one, you know what? I can understand the two Beishamais. Beishamai l'kasha. I can explain why we find that difference in Beishamai. Ha'asam deker notes. Oh, because over there by the Kisi Adam you have that spade inserted in the ground, in which case it's ready-made earth. It doesn't look like he's digging. There's no concern there. As opposed to the tracing, these lids, these doors, you don't have this deker notes factor. In other words, you don't have any mitigating factor. It's close to malacha. There's a real concern there, and therefore there's no reason to allow it. So you understand the difference in Beis Shammai. Here there's a chashash. Here there's no chashash. Ela Beis Hillel kasha. But what are you going to do with this steer in Beis Hillel? When it comes to Kisi Adam, you can't do it. Even if there's Simchas Yom Tov at play. When it comes to tracing, they say, remove the doors from these storage cubicles, no problem. Even though it appears like binyan. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler. Here comes Rabbi Yehuda. He says, apparently, the shita has to be switched around. And just as Beis Hillel, in the case of Kisi Adam, don't allow it, they won't allow in the case of Siluk Tracing as well. There's another girsa in the Gemara. Inami, or Dil Malahi, the Gemara comes back and says, 1 second. You could even answer the stira in Beis Hillel. Ad kan laika amr Beis Hillel hacha. Maybe it's only over here that they allow it to remove that lid, that door from the closet. Elam mishum dein binim bekelim. Beis stira bekelim, they hold that building. It applies to an in-ground structure, to a building, to a house. But a kli, minatorah, there's no binyan, there's no stira, and therefore, what are you worried about? But when it comes to Kisi Adam, it's close in nature to a malacha, to chayfer, etc. That's why they don't allow. So even according to Beis Hillel, we can very well understand why when it comes to Kisi Adam, they're machmer. When it comes to this halacha of masiluk tracing, they're mekel. So bottom line is, we have no reason to reverse any shitas. Everything is fine. So in conclusion, the Gemara seemed to have a stira between Kisi Adam and Siluk Tracing. Rabbi Yehuda says, let's switch the shitas. Just as by Kisi Adam, Beis Shammai is machmer. Beis Shammai is mekel by Simchas Yom Tov. Beis Hillel is machmer. Likewise, in the case of Mesalkin and Tracing, we have to line up the shitas. And according to the second girsa at the end of the Gemara, no, we found a way to reconcile this apparent contradiction. We resolved it satisfactorily, and there's no concern of shitas, of stiros. Everything is the way it's said in the Mishnah. Continues the Mishnah. Beishami Oimrim. This fellow has a birdhouse. Some pigeons in there. So the pigeons are pretty much accessible to him. Taisus says we're speaking about pigeons that can't really fly away. There's no concern of trapping, but they're muktzah. You have to designate them before Yom Tov. Say Beishami. You know how you designate? Beishami Oimrim lo yital. You can't take birds on Yom Tov. Elim kain niyanam b'yom, unless he actually taps them, physically examines them, and confirms that he really wants this bird and that bird. That's a true hazmona. He's going to stick to it. He's going to use it on Yom Tov, and therefore it's muchan, it's prepared, it's not muktzah. Ubeis Hillel Oimrim, you don't have to actually physically hold on to the bird. Oymed v'oymer. He just gets up, takes a look at his birdhouse, and he says, Zevazani noitel. This one, that one, the one with the long tail, I'm going to take that tomorrow. By doing that, he is mazmin it, he designates it, and he can use it the next day. Why do Beis Shammai require niyanua, to go and tap it, to shake it, to physically examine it? Amar of Chanan bar Ami. You know why? Machlekes bevreicha rishona. Rashi explains that these birds, these pigeon breeders would actually leave the first set of birds in the nest. He says the pigeons, they lay 2 eggs every month. One will be a zachar, one will hatch as a nekeva. So all throughout the year, except the winter months. So come the new season, Nisan time, you leave the first batch there. This way the mother has some company and remains anchored in that birdhouse. So the derech was to leave the first hatch, the first batch. And that's the topic of discussion in our Mishnah. The Shammai say, that first batch, you want to really make sure that you're going to take it. So in order for it to be considered non-muktzah, you have to actually lift it, pick it up, tap it, physically examine it, which will pretty much indicate, look, I'm not really having too much mercy on this bird, I'm tapping it, I'm examining it. It pretty much confirms that he's going to take it. Basically, I'm not concerned. They say, look, pointing it out, verbal designation is enough. Discussion pertains to that first batch. The Rishami Savri, Rishami hold, unless you're actually going to physically tap it, there's a gzeira. Next day you might walk over, pick it up, and say, you know, I'm not going to take this first batch, put it back down. In which case, his hachana was now cancelled. Turns out that he touched the muktzah. Therefore, Beis Hillel insists on physical examination. Go ahead and pick it up, tap it before Yom Tov, which will indicate that you're really serious about it, and you're going to follow through on Yom Tov and not second guess yourself. Beis Hillel Sabri lo Yarsirina, they're not concerned. They say, look, verbal designation is enough. That's when it comes to the first brecha, the first batch, the first hatch. Aval b'brecha shniya, but when it comes to the next month, Tivra Akol all agree, you don't have to actually physically hold on to the animal before Yom Tov. Ba'imid va'imir zeh v'zeh anoitel saga, to get up and verbally designate, that's enough. Okay, says more, I understand. Bishama need a more serious type of hazmana. According to Beis Hillel, verbal is enough, mental is enough. The question is, why does he have to actually point to a specific bird? According to Beis Hillel, shouldn't it be enough just to say, you know what, I'm going to take from these birds tomorrow. Takes a look at his birdhouse, some nice birds there. I'll decide tomorrow which one I want to take. And whichever one I take will be the one I had in mind. Let's apply the concept of breira. Let's determine retroactively which one he had in mind. According to Beis Hillel, why does he have to point to a specific bird and say, I want to take this one or that one? Why isn't it enough for him to say, I plan on taking from these birds? Lesl breira? Do you think perhaps Beis Hillel do not hold of breira? You can't go ahead and verify later on and have that applied retroactively? That's not. Listen to this Mishnah, where it would seem that according to Beis Hillel, we do apply breira. Hameis bebayis, you have a mace in a home. V'lo psacham harbi, which has many doors and windows. Kulan tmein, all the doors and windows are tummy. What does that mean? Rashi says it's a gzeira d'Rabbanan. Rashi elsewhere says halach mashmir Sinai, that since the mace is going to leave the home, so his entire exit route is tummy. Since we don't know which route he's going to take, through which door, which window is going to be transported out of the house, all doors are tummy, which means that if there's an item sitting within the doorpost or within the window frame, even though it's not in the home, in the oil mace, that item becomes tummy. However, niftach echad men, let's say one of the doors were now opened, which makes it clear that the mace will be transported out that door. That becomes the designated exit route. Hu tummy, he remains tummy. The kulan turn, other doors and windows remain turned tar. They lose their tumah status. They're no longer going to serve as a yitziyah for the oil for the tumah. That's if he made a maaser, opened one of the doors. What about chishev lo yitziyah ba'achad mem? He didn't actually physically open a door, but he designated one door as the exit route. Or one of the windows, a window which is large enough in size to allow for the mace to leave 4 by 4 tefachim. That's also enough. Matzeles al kol apsachim kulam, that relieves all the other doors and windows from their tumah. This has become the designated exit route for the tumah. Now we have machlekes. B'shami oimrim, v'hu shechishev lo yitziyoi ad shelo yomas hames. When do we say that this concept works, that's only when it was before the mace passed away, before the tumah descended on the doors and the windows. Yeah, then you could open one and say, this is designated one, and all others are relieved. You can open one window, you can designate a door or window, and have tumah applied to that when the mace will die, and all the other ones will be free of tumah. So you can do it going forward in advance, but not retroactively. So once the mace died and all the entranceways and doorways became tummy, you can't go ahead and say, I'm going to redesignate. I'm going to say, oh, that's the one. It doesn't work retroactively. You don't say brera. This is the one that was meant to serve as the exit route l'chatchila. Too late. According to Beitzah, you can say brera. So even after the mace dies and all the doors and windows became tummy, that was because it was unknown. We don't know where the mace will travel. But once he designates one, he opens one or designates one, it's not only going forward, it's even retroactive. This is the one that the mace was going to use retroactively. So even after Misas HaMace, you can go ahead and apply the same method. Open a door, retire the other ones. Designate a door, retire the other ones. In any case, what do we see? According to Beitzah, you can complete a process today and have it applied retroactively. So back to the birds. Let them get up and say, I'm going to take from these birds tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll come back and take a bird. This is the one I had in mind. So on Yom Tov, he will sort of complete the process which was initiated Erev Yom Tov by applying Bereira. Says the Gemara, no, that's not pshat in the Mishnah by the mace. Ha'itmar lo, we learned a pshat on this Mishnah. Amar Rabbah. No, all agree that it's not going to work in the reverse. It's not going to work retroactively. L'tayres ha'psachim mekan labo. Even Beitzah will not apply Bereira. They won't say, well, it's been determined that this was the doorway that the mace was supposed to use. No, it only works going forward. So what's the machlokes? Beis Shammai hold, if you actually physically open a door, so what happened? The mace died. All doors and windows assumed tumah out of uncertainty. Then he actually physically opens a door or opens a window. All agree. This is the exit route. Everything else is torah going forward. But if you only had a machshava, that's not enough according to Beis Shammai, because once the doors acquired tumah status, a machshava alone can't uproot that, can't cancel that, even going forward. Whereas according to Beis Hillel, even a machshava can accomplish that. Once you designate one door, one window as the exit route, everything else becomes tar. Even according to Beis Hillel, the point is just going forward. It's going to be retire everything else. In, only going forward. I'm afraid, but not retroactively. Let's just stop for a second and summarize the halacha of the mace b'bayis. So the mace is in the home. The home has many doors, many windows. Initially, the Gemara figured there was machlokes Beis Shammai still regarding retroactive application. Do we apply Bereira to be metar all the other doors and windows, whether it was done through a masa by opening a door or simply by designation machshava? Beis Shammai, no, it only works going forward, not going back. Beis Hillel goes back as well. That was the kasha we see Bereira works. Well, I responded, no, it never works. It's only a question of mekan labo. So the mace is here, everything is potentially tummy. So if he actually opens the door, all agree it works. That becomes the exit route. When he merely does it through machshava, Beis Shammai say machshava is not enough to change its status. So all doors remain tummy. According to Beis Hillel, even machshava can accomplish the same as a mas in this case, as long as he designates one door or one window to serve as the exit route. Everything else becomes tar going forward. Continues the Gemara. Rava Amar lo elam mafreya. You know what? Let's go back to the initial pshat. Perhaps according to Beis Hillel, today's determination can accomplish even a retroactive accomplishment. If so, when it comes to the birds, Why can't he simply make this general announcement? I'm declaring I'm going to use these birds and come back tomorrow and decide which one. The reason over here is because there is a concern, a special concern. Perhaps if he only makes a general declaration without pinpointing which bird he's going to use, what might happen is tomorrow he shows up, picks up a random bird and sees this is not what I had in mind. It doesn't conform to my harsh standards. It's a poor quality bird. So he's going to be metaltal, pick up the bird, v'shavik, and put it back down. Metaltal, pick up another one, v'shavik, and place it back down. Metaltal, midid loy t'chazile. So in effect, he's moving birds around which aren't really going to serve him. Those are muktzah. He only designated the birds which he's going to use. But filling birds around, that's not within that allowance. So that's a concern here. And therefore, we obligate him to go ahead and pinpoint. This bird I'm going to take, that bird I'm going to take. In this case, it's going to remove that concern of being metaltal unnecessarily. Says, well, what do you mean? How is that going to address this concern? V'amris, but you're telling me, getting up and saying, I'm taking this and that, that's okay. How does that remove this concern? He didn't actually physically tap the bird. He's only going to do that tomorrow. When he does that tomorrow, he might discover it's not what I had in mind. So again, we're back to the concern of muktzah. Says the Gemara. The fact that you mechayiv him to walk over to the birdhouse and announce, I'm taking this and that. He's going through this whole procedure. What for? That makes him mindful of the fact there's a muktzah issue here. You can't just freely touch any bird the next day. So come back the next day, he's going to know, I have to take the one that I identified yesterday. But in the case where he didn't specify, he made a general declaration, I'm going to use from these birds, and he comes back tomorrow to pick them. In that case, it's asa, because since he didn't really designate any specific birds yesterday, he's relying on tomorrow's picking. And what happens tomorrow? It could turn out that the ones that appear plump and fatty and high quality, when he picks it up, poor quality, chushim. And I'll put it back down. Chushim, or conversely, things which look weak and poor quality, shmeinim might turn out to be nice and plumpy when he picks it up. In which case, once he starts moving things around unnecessarily, become a taltal, midin lechazle, he'll be handling muktzah more than he needed. But by being mechayiv him, by obligating him to specify, identify in advance, he's going to commit himself to those. He's not going to second guess his decisions. He'll say, okay, I know, I have to go follow through. This is the one I identified, no questions asked, pick it up and use it. Inami, there's another concern, not necessarily related to muktzah, but the reason why we are mechayiv him to get up and say zeh v'zeh according to Beitzah is because zimrin de mishtachri kuli chushim. If he doesn't actually identify which one's going to take, he just makes that general declaration, relying on the fact that the next day he'll pick the ones that he likes. You know what might happen? He'll walk over to his bird nest. He won't be happy with any of them. This is a chush and poor quality birds. And he'll just leave them alone. He won't do a shchita. He might deprive himself of simchas yantiv. He won't actually check anything, because he'll be in shock. This is not what I had in mind. He'll be totally surprised. These aren't birds that I really want. But if you go ahead and tell him that erev yantiv you have to be mevar and say these and these, then he's pretty much committing himself to the cause. He's not going to second guess himself and go over, pick it up, and use it for simchas yantiv. So there's a psychological element here, Rashi says. If it's undefined, in the back of his mind he's thinking, look, I might find some good birds tomorrow, I hope. But when he walks over and he's disappointed, he's not going to do anything. He's not going to use it. He won't have simchas yantiv. But in the case where he commits himself and he says, that looks good. That one looks good. So that's it. He's not going to start reevaluating that decision the next day. That's it. I decided this, I'm taking, that's it. Next day he walks over, he picks it up and he uses it. So you have two pshata why, even according to Beitzah, although he doesn't have to pick up the bird and tap it, as Beis Shammai, according to Beitzah, getting up and making that general declaration is enough. Getting up and making declarations is enough, but it has to be a specific declaration. This one and that one. Either because we're concerned about muktzah, because unless he does that, he won't realize that he can't just go ahead and pick things up freely at random. That's a muktzah concern. A second shot was the fact that we tell him to identify, to label which one's going to use, make that decision now. Don't rethink it tomorrow, in which case he'll go over, pick it up and use it. Otherwise, he might second guess the quality of his birds and not use it at all. Okay, so let's summarize the Mishnah and the Gemara. We spoke about being meichen birds in advance of Yom Tov. According to Beis Shammai, you have to pick it up and tap it. According to Beis Hillel, just labeling, identifying which ones you're going to use is enough. The Gemara tells us we're speaking about the Breicha Rishon, that first pair of birds, which are generally left behind in the birdhouse to keep the mother company, keep her anchored in place. Therefore, according to Beis Shammai, it's not considered designated for Yom Tov use unless you pick it up and tap it, in which case you've pretty much indicated, I'm going to take it. According to Beis Hillel, verbal declaration is okay. Zevedani noitel. Either because you can't make a general declaration and rely on breira. Next they come back and pick the ones you wanted and say, this is the one I had in mind, because breira according to Beis Hillel doesn't work. Or, according to the next text in the Gemara, theoretically breira would work, but unless he actually identifies the ones he's going to take, he might not realize that he can't just go over the next day and pick up and put down, pick up and put down. There's a muktzah concern. So identifying in advance will remove that concern. According to the second text in the Gemara, otherwise we're concerned about being disappointed with the results of his find and not doing Simchas Yom Tov. And that concern is addressed by advance identification. Continues the Mishnah. Okay, so he walked over to his birdhouse, prepared some birds. Comes Yom Tov, things changed on him. Zimen shchorim. He prepared blackbirds. Umatzah levan comes back on Yom Tov, he finds white pigeons. Levan prepared white ones. Umatzah shchorim, he finds black ones. Or Shnaim, prepared two birds. Umatzah shloisha, he finds a guest, 3. In all these cases, we say asurim, they're considered muktzah unprepared. The Gemara will explain the background, the reason for all these halachas. What about shloisha umatzah shnaim? He started with 3 and ended with 2. Mutar, we say it's okay. Let's assume the third one flew away, but the other ones are the 2 remaining of that group. Meseichakan, what if he prepared the birds inside the nest? He found them outside the nest. Asurim. We can't be confident that these are the same birds, and therefore they're muktzah. What about from the entire area? All you have are these birds? Then there's no concern of any other birds having arrived. Hareil mutarim, and certainly they're mutar even in this case. Let's go back to the beginning of the Mishnah. He prepared black, he found white. Prepared white, he found black. We say it's us. Pshita, says the Gemara, of course. How could you think it's mutar? It's the wrong ones. Amar Rabach, my skidim was speaking about the following case. What happened was, he prepared both in advance. He had 2 compartments in his birdhouse. One containing white birds, the other one containing black birds. He prepared them both for Yom Tov use. He gets up the next morning on Yom Tov, and what does he find? They're reversed. He found the black birds, where the white ones were. He finds the white ones in the compartment next door. So he switched departments. Perhaps there would be room to say that it's mutar. These are probably the same birds. They just switched departments. And therefore they're both mutar. These are the ones that he was mazmin. The Chiddush is in the Mishnah, no. Kamash malan, we say it's aser. We have to speculate that perhaps your birds disappeared. Hanach azdula alma, yours flew away. The ones that you found are other ones. Why then would they be in the wrong compartments? So it's a suffix. And when it comes to an essay like this, which is a davar sheyesh l'matir, and we discussed this back in Daf Gimel, even a suffix is us. Continues the Gemara. Now the fact that you're telling me that there is a concern that perhaps these birds arrived from the wild, we attribute the birds that you found to the general world bird population, rather than saying that the birds came from next door, right? You prepared white ones in this birdhouse. You found them next door. The question is, did they arrive from the birdhouse next door, in which case they're mutter, or did they arrive from the general world population? What are the factors here? To say that it came from next door would mean that it originated from a makam karav. You have that closeness there. Right? It's probable that it came from next door. On the other hand, you have a roiv working against you, because the general world population of birds are certainly more plentiful than the birds just next door. So there are more factors leading in the direction of muktzah. So bottom line is, when you have an equation and you pit closeness against majority, it seems from the Mishnah that majority wins, and therefore we speculate that these birds originated from the wild and are muktzah. Leima Messiah the Reb Chanina. Perhaps this is the right to Reb Chanina, who held likewise. Reb Chanina, Roy v'Karev. Let's say you're faced with an equation that has two elements: majority and closeness. Halech acharav, you follow the majority. Our Mishnah seems to be supporting Rabbi Chanina's halach. Answers the Gemara, not necessarily, because in our case, perhaps you have karev, closeness, on both sides of the equation. How's that? Kedamar Abai tells us later in the Gemara. Bedaf, we're speaking about a birdhouse that has a ledge, sort of a porch, in front of it. Hachanami bedaf, here as well, we're speaking about the same type of birdhouse, which has this daf. So it features this resting place where many birds come by for a quick rest. There's the rest stop for the general world bird population. So now the equation is as follows. You have the white ones, the compartment to the right. Wake up the next morning, you find them in the left compartment. So what's your shaila? Where did these birds originate from? Did they come from the right compartment? So they're muchan. These are the ones that you prepared. So you have a karoiv factor there in your favor. Or perhaps they came from the daf, from this ledge, upon which many, many, many birds perch. So that's also karoiv, and that's muktzah. Not only is it karoiv, you have roiv there as well, because who are many? Who are more? The general bird population in the world are more than the ones that you prepared. So you have the roiv factor working against you as well. So it's not closeness versus majority. It's not roiv versus karev. Here it's karev telling you mutter, next door. There's karev telling you aser, the ledge. Maybe they came from there. You have roiv as well, because there are more. You have more muktzah than non-muktzah. So here it's aser. But perhaps when you have roiv versus karev, who says that the roiv overrides? Continues the Gemara. Shnai matzah shleish asur. You started with 2, you end up with 3. It's asur. Manavshach, because there's no way to figure this out. Either way, it's muktzah. Say it's a brand new group. So it's a brand new group. Muktzah. Suppose it isn't a brand new group, meaning 2 of these 3 were prepared. Well, you don't know which one. You have one muktzah mixed into the 2. So you can't use any of them. Asks Tosfos, what about bittul? Tosfos, tu terutzim, a bal chai is not bittul, it's chashav. Or because, remember, it's a davar sheyesh lo matir, and it's a limited time isser. Muktzah is only a Shabbos v'yom tov isser, and therefore it's not going to be bittul. Continues the Gemara. What about shloisha matzah shnai mutar? You started with 3, you found 2. We assume these 2 are the remnants of your original group of 3, and they're mutter. My timer. Why is it mutter? Let's assume this is the original group. One of them disappeared. Says the Gemara. Now we're going to get into trouble. Perhaps our Mishnah is only following Shita's Rebbe, and not the Rabbanon. We want to follow the Rabbanon. Meaning our Mishnah, which tells us you start with a large group, you found only a small portion of that group. You don't have to worry that the entire group left and a new group arrived. No, perhaps only 1 member left, and the other 2 are the original ones. That's Shitas Rebbe. who splits apart a group. Rabbanim say all or nothing. The fact that you found a different quantity than from when you left it, we have to speculate. Perhaps it's a brand new group. The Sanya, as we find in a Beitzah. This fellow has money, which is Maser Sheni money, right? Which he transferred the Kedusha of Maser Sheni. It's meant to be taken to Yerushalayim, to use for food purchasing. So he has a sort of a box there, a container, into which he places money. So he put in 100 coins in mana, and he comes back and finds, the money grew 200. So he placed 100 coins, he placed the mana of Maser Sheni money in this container, comes back and he finds double. According to Rabbi, we assume that half of it is the original Maser Sheni. He added another 100. So you have a mixture here. It's a brand new batch. Why would he go ahead and add his own money to the Maser Sheni and create confusion? It's not probable that we have the original money here. Perhaps he doesn't remember, but he took away the Maser Sheni money, the 100. Came back and he placed his own money there. So that's where he finds more. What if he finds less than he left? He left 200. He comes back, he finds only a mana 100. So what should we say here? Mana munach, we assume that the mana that he found is the original Maser Sheni money. Mana muta, what happened to the other mana? He took it away. So according to Rabbi, we split up the group. We split up the bunch. So just because he ended up with half the amount that he left, doesn't mean it's new money. He took away half. Likewise, when it comes to the birds, he started with 3, ended with 2. Let's assume 1 flew away, but the other 2 are the remaining 2 of the original group. Chacham say, why? Why would he go take 100 of his 200? He didn't go to Yerushalayim. You take the entire bunch when you go to Yerushalayim. Why would you simply take away 100 of his Maser Sheni for no good reason? So let's assume for some reason he decided to empty the box. He took out all the Maser Sheni and came back a day later and put in 100 chulin. So according to Rabbanan, it's all or nothing. Likewise over here, he started with 3 birds, he ended with 2. We should be choishesh that the original group is no longer here. It's a brand new group and it's all muktzah. No, the Mishnah could be found even Rabbanan. Here it's different. Birds are different than a piggy bank. We learned an explanation on that Beitzah. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yehuda, they both explained. Shani gezolis. Birds are different. They're bound to hop around, to jump around. It's certainly plausible that one of them jumped away and 2 remained behind. When it comes to money, money doesn't pick up and leave, Rashi says. How did the money disappear? How do you start with 200 and end with 1? It's not probable that he takes away half the money without taking the entire money. They would say the abundance all or nothing. The fact you found less than you left is an indication that you emptied the container of its Maser Sheni money, and whatever is found is chulin. So we thought we had a kasha from the Mishnah. The Gemara was machalik. Birds are different than money. Says the Gemara, why do we even need to say that teretz? What was the kasha to begin with? Why did we find it necessary to answer a kasha on this? Birds are different because they're going to hop around. There was no question to begin with. Why? Let's take a closer look at that Mishnah of the Maser Sheni. We learned a pshat on that Beitzah. The Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Lezer both provided a pshat, each one in his own way. Chadamar, one explained, Bishnei kisen machlekes. So he started with 200. He found only 100. You know when the Rabbanan say, when Rebbe says that we split the bunch, we say, well, the 100 left behind is Maser, even though you found only half of what you left. That's only Bishnei kisen. When you started with 2 bundles, you had 100 coins in each. So over there, Rebbe says, perhaps they picked up a bundle and left. Makes sense. So Bishnei kisen machlekes. But if they're all lying in one pouch, all agree it's chulin. Meaning, if you left 200 in a pouch, came back, you found 100. Why would he take out some coins of that pouch of Maser Sheni? It's not mistaver, it's not probable. All agree. He must have taken the entire supply of Maser Sheni and came back a day later and put some chulin money here. So according to this pshat, I understand why there was a stira, a kasha between that Mishnah of money and the Mishnah of birds. Because birds are like two pouches, right? Two separate entities, two separate birds. And if in the case of the two kisim, we said there's a machlekes, that the Chachamim maintain it's all or nothing, and over here with the birds as well, they should say all or nothing. If you left 3 and you found 2, it must be a new group. So you understand why we had a kasha and why we had to answer. Birds are different because they hop away. Okay? Now there was another shita, right, between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Lezer. One explained, as we just said, and the other one explained differently. When all the money is sitting in one pouch, then we have a machlekes, meaning then Chachamim say it's all or nothing. When it's two separate pouches, and you come back and you only find one, all agree. Mana munach. We assume one pouch with 100 is the original one. Well, mana muta, one was taken. The two separate entities aren't connected. So now let's analyze. It makes sense that according to the Shita who said, and the Mishnah, the Beitzah over there, Rabbi and Rabban are speaking about two separate pouches, and that's when we have machlokes. That's when the Chacham say that it's all or nothing. And Rabbi says, no, let's assume he left one and took one. So now we have a kasha from birds, because birds are like two kisim, two separate birds. And if the Chacham say by two pouches it's all or nothing, then why are birds different? You started with 3, came back and found 2. Let's assume it's a new batch. Because, birds like to keep each other company. Why would you say that one left without the other ones? The fact that you found 2 must be a new group. So that's a kasha. Why do we say it's mutter? That compelled us to answer the teretz. Hachashani, birds are different. Shani gazolas, birds are different. Because they're bound to hop around, and it's only natural that one might have jumped away and left the other ones behind. So you understand why we needed to answer the teretz. Right? Because the machlekes by Maser Sheni was pertaining to 2 pouches. Chacham say, you left 2, found 1, let's assume it's a new batch. Why is it different than birds? The difference is birds jump around. But according to the other explanation, that machlekes only applies when it's one pouch. So when he left the 200 of one pouch, came back and found 100. Over there, the Rabbanan say it's not probable that he removed the 100 from that pouch. It must be that it's new money. But if he started with 2 separate pouches, came back only found one of the 2, all agree. Even the Rabbanan agree in this case. 2 separate pouches, mana munach, mana mutal. Let's assume one pouch was removed and one remained behind, and that's Maser Sheni one. If that's the pshat, then what's the kasha ta'al Mishnah? Birds, they're disconnected. It's like 2 pouches. You can separate them. Why did you have to answer anything? What was the kasha? Haven't you just told me? When it's 2 separate bundles, there's no machlekes. Birds are like separate bundles. So if we left 3 and he found 2, let's assume 1 disappeared and 2 were left behind. So even the Rabbanan would agree that it's mutter in this case. Amar Rav Ashi, we have to redefine the definition of kis echad shnei kis. It's not 1 bundle and 2 bundles. In both cases, we're speaking about 2 bundles. The difference is, kis echad means the bundles were tied together, like one package. And in that case, Rabbanan say that it's not probable that he would have taken one without the other. B'shnei kisin, which means 2 separate, unconnected, untied bundles, over there they agree. Perhaps he grabbed one and left one behind. When it comes to birds, we're speaking even in the case where the birds were tied together. So what is it? It's like kis echad. It's one bundle. It's one package deal. It's all or nothing. So why do we say if we left 3 and found 2, these are the original 2? According to Rabban, you can't say that. You can't split the group. Amar Rav Ashi, we're speaking about birds tied together. Bundles tied together. The Rabban considered them as one. So why by the birds could you split them apart? And that's why we had a kasha. And that's why we had to answer. Because as opposed to birds who jump around and will disconnect from each other, you can say one disappeared and 2 were left behind, and they're mutter. Packages, bundles don't disappear, don't disconnect and disengage. And since they were tied together, it's not probable that he would have detached, taken one and left the one behind. Okay, so what does Rebbe hold? They're tied together. How can you say that we split them? Rebbe responds, you know what, kisin nami, even when it comes to bundles, money pouches, zimnin, at times the misakel kitrayu, they're not, can loosen up and unravel. And perhaps that's what happened. Originally they all were tied together, but it so happens that with the passing of time they got unraveled. He walked by, he found a pouch, he picked it up and left one behind. Okay, so conclusion. This fellow left 200, came back, found only 100. Should we say it's the original 100 Maser Sheni, or is it new money? Rabbanon, in 2 versions. According to the first version, one is Shnei Kisen, which means the pouches are not tied together. Then we have a Machlekes. Rabbi says, let's assume he took one and left behind one. So it's Maser Sheni money sitting here. According to Rabbanon, it's one package. Why would he take one and leave the other? So let's assume it's new money, it's chul. But if it's kis echad, which means they're both tied together, it's really one deal. Going to all shitas. The money found today is brand new money, it's chulin, unconnected to the previous fund. According to the second version of the Gemara, when the pouches are disconnected, all agree. He probably took one and left one behind, which is Maser Sheni money from the original 200. Whereas if it's tied together, then we have the machlekes. According to Rebbe, perhaps it got unraveled, he took one and left one behind, and that's Maser Sheni money. According to Rabbanon, it's one package, we don't separate, it's all or nothing. Since he didn't find the same amount that he left, let's assume he took the original master and left the chum behind. Now, according to Rabbanon, that when it's tied together, it's one bundle, all or nothing, we don't separate. So when it comes to the birds, do we say that when he left 3 tied together and he found 2, we say 1 disappeared and 2 were left behind? The answer is because birds jump around. So what did we learn today? We had a machlek, a stira, regarding the shitas by Simchas Yontiv. Rabbi Yechon says we have to reverse the shitas to make them in line with and consistent with each other. How do you prepare birds in advance of Yom Tov? According to Shammai, you have to actually tap them and examine them. We're speaking about the first batch, which is usually left behind the birdhouse. So you have to really commit yourself, which would indicate that you're really preparing it. According to Beis Hillel, verbal designation is enough, and all you have to say is, I'm taking this and that. Why do you have to designate? Why can't you just rely on your later determination? The answer is Ein Breira. Or even if Yesh Breira, there's a concern that he might actually go ahead and tap around his birds and do unnecessary muktzah. Or you might decide it's not up to par and not shecht anything and ruin his Yom Tov. We had several cases in the Mishnah. He prepared black and white and then they switched locations. We're concerned perhaps they came from the general bird population, their muktzah. He started with 2, ended with 3, certainly their muktzah. He started with 3, ended with 2. It's okay, even if they're tied together. Let's assume birds run around. According to all shittas, we can assume the ones that you found were the 2 from the original group and are prepared in advance for Yom Tov. Kol tov to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.